Really smart people will actually find opportunities in there rather than lamenting the loss of all these jobs. For some people, it'll be highly disruptive, and I strongly suggest that those people start thinking about finding some other skills to sell to the world.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Why again and again we have tech businesses failing? Because they change the order, especially in the part of MVP. Apparently, everybody removed the M. So it's not a minimum viable product anymore. They removed the M. They build a big elephant, exactly as you described. And then when they run out of money, resources, and they haven't sold anything, now they're looking for investors to sell it. So when we got a loss in translation, what happened? What do you think that is the cause of these steps that you're sharing with us today? Why, from where the tech entrepreneurs are getting the other series of steps that if you don't do it exactly how you describe it, is not going to work. As
It's
simple as
because
this.
we don't teach engineers to do it that way. So now the university that I teach at, which is Toronto Metropolitan University in Toronto, Canada, we actually pride ourselves on having an entrepreneurial spirit throughout the entire university. And so our engineering students are actually taught about lean startup. So they have to take courses in entrepreneurship. And so I mean, I don't have any evidence of it, but I would suspect very strongly that we have fewer of those occur. I would encourage every single engineering or any sort of tech school, doesn't have to be just engineering, it could be biotech as well. Um, I would encourage them to give their students a foundation not only in the science part of whatever their program is, but also in startup sort of startup theory, if you will, and teach them that you have to. I think the other thing that's going on a lot of the time is that it still permeates society, this notion that you got to keep your idea a secret. And I get a real kick out of people when they want my advice about startup. And so I said, well, tell me all about your idea. Well, I can't tell you all about my idea. And I say to them, well, let me tell you something. I've heard hundreds of
That's the
ideas
first
over the years.
problem. That's the first problem. You cannot market, you cannot tell to people.
Right. Yeah. And I tell them, I've heard hundreds of ideas across the span of my career. And never once have I heard an idea that I loved so much that I decided that tomorrow morning I'm not going to my job. I'm going to steal your idea and start working on that. I've never heard one of those yet. Right? And so the key is that information that's back from people, about whether or not you've actually found a problem that's worth seeing, and all those other. Let me be clear though. Like if you've invented some cool technology, I'm not to give away your patentable IP. And you can still tell people about the problem you're trying to solve, give them some idea around your product without losing your patentable IP. You just have to be smart about the way that you position it.
Do you think that the problem could be that, for example, in the 90s, you share with us that you share your idea to the board and you got 2 million, and the entrepreneurs still are reading about these stories and thinking that how it used to work back then is how it works now. Because, for example, this evolution, or tell us, because you have been in the evolution of the tech startup ecosystem. Tell us how was before and how is now, and what have changed.
Yeah.
So tech entrepreneurs have an understanding that whatever works before, um, it doesn't work now. Something happened in between. So if you can share with us.
Yeah, and it's not so much that it doesn't work, it's that it's very risky. So So we used to do ready, aim, fire, and now we do ready, fire, aim, right? And the thing is, ready, fire, aim allows you to do lots of small experiments that are not that costly in either money or time. And we say like kind of fail often, fail fast, fail cheap. You know, of course we don't want to fail, but the idea is find out that you're wrong, make small pivots, small bets, small pivots. Um, and if you're actually onto an idea, ready, aim, fire will work. It's just it's very, very risky. At the time you're not onto something and you're gonna have to pivot. And you don't want to spend 2 million before you decide to pivot. You want to spend 2,000.
Yeah, but out of the 500 millionaires that I interview, no one has come yet to tell me, Harry, look, you're not gonna believe. I create the product, and exactly as I created,
Right.
I sold it, and I became a millionaire.
Right. Doesn't happen that way. No.
There is a
Yeah.
lot of iterations. So, Brad, tell us about your passion, about your story. Why you're so passionate about tech and about uh, teaching the students and nurture them
Sure.
in, in, in the entrepreneurial journey. When I go to Mexico, they tell me, Harry, give a conference about for them to become entrepreneurs because they leave the university. We know that 50% they're not going to have a job. So the other 50% have to create their own job. So, but Canada, which is a developing country, right? That's a view with your students to give them as much information in case that they want to become entrepreneurs. It's very impressive. So tell us your story. Why you're so passionate about it?
I love working with young people. So I've been part of an organization since my teenage years. First of all, I was in the organization. It's called Junior Achievement. It's becoming not as important nowadays. But back in my day, 35, 40 years ago, it was very, very important as because it was one of the few organizations that was teaching young people about business. And I was actually lucky enough to be in the program and then later on became a volunteer mentor advisor, and I've loved being around young people. Business and technology is what I know, so that's what I can teach. So, um, teaching entrepreneurship is kind of at the kind of, if you think of a Venn diagram and the overlap of what I love, what I can do, what people will pay me for, this is the sweet spot for me, and I get huge amount of energy out of working around young people. So that's why I do what I do. I frankly, I probably could have made more money if I just, kept working in jobs and slaving away as a COO or a CEO. But the other thing is, I found I actually didn't. I really didn't like CEO that much because I don't like answering to people. And being a professor, you don't really have a boss, so it's an awesome job.
Yeah, and people are saying uh, out there that to be soon a company that worth $1 billion only in one person because of the use of AI. What is your? Do you
So
think
I'm
would
not up there a bit, but I think what you asked me is it going to be possible for somebody to build $1 billion company by themselves
by themselves just with the use of AI?
using just AI? Yeah. We're just starting. AI just hit the mainstream about what 3.5 years ago, something like that. We're just at the very, very beginning of this, the impact this is going to have on business, and I don't pretend to know where we're going to end up. It's ways I think it's a little scary, in it like both for say entry level jobs. There's a lot of people that it's going to have a significant impact there, or already has. Although I heard a stat today that so a lot of people were saying, AI is coming for your coding job. We're not going to need coders anymore. I heard a stat today that there's more job postings for software engineers than there's ever been. So not sure about that. Um,
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%.
yeah.
It's
So, but
it's about the people that you help them and teach them how to use AI that will amplify the company.
yeah, it's a multiplier, just like
Mhm.
computers were, just like it was back in.
That's how I see it as a multiplier, right? And
Yeah.
people, how about your students? Are they doing good use of it in order to build startups? Or where do you think that AI is is good. I'll tell you my own experience. My first business was in property, and to write a business letter to a landlord used to take a week because English is not my first language. So I had to find
Okay.
someone that speak, then translate, then I need to translate back, and the whole process take a week. And today it takes 30 seconds, and it's very
Sure.
impressive. Way better result
Yeah.
than what it used to take a week. So what areas of AI do you think that your tech founders or your students can use in order to scale up their business?
It's interesting where we've come from because I can remember around the end of the fall semester in 22, where ChatGPT had only become, like it was released before that, but it only become in the mainstream a handful of months prior to that. And all of my colleagues, and even to me to a small degree, we're lamenting like what the heck are we going to do, they're all going to be cheating, and now we're actually mandating that they use AI, and they prove to us that they're capable of using AI in a smart, cogent, efficient way. So we've in a I think that we in a fairly short period of time we've made that full swing. Now among my students, I'll say there's quite a broad range of capabilities. Some of them are quite savvy, and sadly, some of them are not that savvy with using it. And so, but that's probably been the was this computers if we go back to the 80s.
So, what is the, if you have to start a company today, what are the few areas that you think that would be a bigger market or more potential?
Sure. We always tell our students, look at trends. So we have the aging of society, right? We have shrinking population. We have the changing climate. This doesn't matter, I think humans caused it or it's natural. We know the climate is changing. Any time that there's a paradigm shift, everything kind of resets to zero, and that creates opportunities for businesses. So you just look at how are things changing in the world. We're moving toward driverless cars. So that's going to create opportunity. It's also going to create massive disruption. The number one job category is actually driver. More people are drivers than any other thing. So that's going to get massively disrupted. Now, really smart people will actually find opportunities in there rather than lamenting the loss of all these jobs. For some people, it'll be highly disruptive, and I strongly suggest that those people start thinking about finding some other skills to sell to the world.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.